Hey, what's up YouTube? Mike here with another video. Today I'm doing something a little different. As you can see, I am not out somewhere in the city vlogging or shooting a walking tour. Today we're gonna do another Apple video. I haven't done an Apple video in a while. And this one's a fun one. It's kind of a part 2 to a previous video I shot called My iPod Collection. And yeah, and in that video I went through the current iPods that are in my collection at the moment. One of them being the original iPod, the one that really started it all. I also went through the limited edition U2 iPod. I went through the one of the latest gens iPod Classics. And I also did a few of the shuffles that I've collected over the years. Now, the iPod that I'm going to show you guys today is very near and dear to my heart. It literally transports me back to being 14, 15 years old. It is the 2004 blue iPod mini. Although this was not my iPod originally, it was one of my longtime friends from middle school. And this iPod was the first iPod ever that I ever saw in real life, held in my hand, experienced the click wheel. It was this device right here. And recently my friend was visiting her parents' house and she was going through her things and she posted on her Instagram story that she found this iPod, and I literally sent her a DM right away. If you are willing to part with it, I will happily buy it off you. And she was so nice. She was like, oh my God, of course you can have it. It's literally just collecting dust in a box. So she shipped it to me to New York, and now it has found its way back to me. So, you know, the universe does work in amazing ways. Just look at how beautiful this iPad is. It does turn on. This is actually my first time turning it on since I got it shipped to me. I did have to charge it a little bit. But do you guys hear that click? Let me put it up to the mic. The click is so good though. I know I said that in my last video, but like I could just listen to ASMR of that all day. And here, to show you guys, you can kind of see how it functions. Now I am surprised that my friend took all of her music off. I was actually pretty excited. I felt like there was going to be some, like, you know, gems in there from when we were young teenagers. But nope, it's completely empty. But they do have games. Now, I don't know if you guys remember Brick, and this is going to be so hard to play backwards. Ooh, oh my God, it's working. It's working. Where is it? I can't even see. How? Okay. I'm honestly kind of impressed that I haven't died yet. I think I did. Oh, no, I just did. Ah, dang it. Anyways, I need to get back to this video. So the iPod mini launched January 6, 2004, and Steve Jobs introduced it at Macworld to fill in the gaps between the iPod and other flash-based MP3 players that were popular at the time. The first generation came in 4 gigabytes, which I believe this one is 4 gigabytes as well. And then the second generation came in both 4 gigabytes and 6 gigabytes, with the 4 gigabyte version being able to hold 1,000 songs in your pocket. So by 2003, the iPod was definitely the dominant premium MP3 player of the time. And because the iPod was hard drive based, because it was more expensive than other MP3 players on the market, and because it was a little bit bulky, a huge segment of the market was buying cheaper, more affordable MP3s that were flash based. Now this means they didn't have a spinning hard drive in the device that wasn't as durable, could get damaged easily, and they were also much cheaper, most of them being under $150, and they were tiny. A lot of people wore them clipped on their clothing somewhere, or around their neck, or around their wrist, and Apple didn't really have anything else in that space just yet. And so this was kind of the starting point with the inception of the iPod mini, to create a smaller, more affordable device without sacrificing design, quality, and the premium customer experience that Apple fans are so used to. And Apple didn't want to compete on price at the time. They didn't want to sacrifice on design. They didn't want to sacrifice on its 4 gigabyte capacity, which was a lot of storage space at the time. The other MP3s were ranging from 128 to 512 megabytes, so not even a gig. Steve Jobs famously said, "We don't know how to make a $100 player that's not a piece of junk." This was the first time we were seeing the click wheel that most of us probably know and love, with the menu, play, skip, and rewind buttons integrated into the actual wheel itself, as opposed to the 3rd generation iPod, which did have the click wheel, but had the 4 buttons on the top. And this was kind of the design to make it fit on the mini. So I think that's kind of a cool fun fact. Now at Macworld 2004, Steve Jobs directly targeted these flash-based cheap MP3 players of the time, with the grid featuring their ugly interfaces, tiny storage, and overall just not pleasant experience. Before pulling out the iPod mini, and I believe he pulled out the silver one at Macworld, then showed everybody the rest of the colors. It came in gold, it came in green, it came in pink, and it came came in this blue color and of course silver. It was the first iPod that came in a variety of colors. You know, I think when we think of the colorful iPods, we think of the Nano, we think of the Shuffles, but the Mini is where iPod started having color options, which is pretty cool. Now, despite it being $250 at launch, the iPod Mini did become a massive hit. It also became the best-selling iPod model, eventually being discontinued to make way for the iPod Nano, which was released just a year later in 2005. You know, I'm not sure what Gen Z or, you know, younger generations think of the iPod. Sometimes I feel like I sound like my parents with their vinyl and their 8-tracks and all that stuff. I just can't remember, besides the iPhone, another product that was so culturally iconic than the iPod. I look at this and I think of the 2000s. You would see iPods everywhere. You would see them on the street. You would see them in movies, TV shows, ads. You know, I do remember those iconic iPod commercials with the dancing silhouettes. And I think the reason why it was such an icon is that it was like a part of you. You had the colors that you wanted. It felt cool. You had the white earbuds. The design was minimal. It was premium. And when you saw one, you wanted one. I feel like a lot of people in my generation fell in love with the iPod before they fell in love with the Mac, which made me want to get an iPhone, which then made me want to get an iPad and an Apple Watch and HomePods and an Apple TV. And you know, it all stemmed from this MP3 player that made me such a fanboy. This exact iPod, 20 years later. I don't know. I know this is probably cringe and embarrassing, and it also set the stage for the iPhone. When you think about it, the iPod trained millions of people to use the click wheel, to fall in love with Apple's ecosystem, to use iTunes to download music and put it on a mobile device that you can then carry it with you. Before that, you maybe had a sleeve of CDs in your car. Maybe you would have an album or two in your bag. Also, there was no algorithms. There was no shuffle-only Spotify. It was just your music, your collection, what you wanted to listen to, when you wanted to listen to it. And now we have Apple Music, now we have Spotify, and although we're streaming, the concept is the same. You know, it's a mobile device that has all of our music organized and ready to go. Anyways, I go more into the importance and history of the iPod in my first video, so I'll put a tag somewhere over here, and of course a link as well in the description if you want to see the other iPods I have in my collection and learn a little bit more about the history. And let me know in the comments, what was your first iPod? And what was your favorite iPod? What color did you have? Is there anybody out there still actively listening to an iPod in 2025? I would love to know. I mean, I know I definitely want to figure out how to put some music on this and just write it on the train with some ear pods and, you know, live back in 2004 again. Yeah, that's it for me now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and going back into some 2000s Apple nostalgia. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos, definitely go ahead and subscribe. I mostly do vlogs out here in New York City, but occasionally I will come in with a little Apple video since I'm such a fan. And anyways, that's it for me now. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next video. Before I go, I'll leave you guys with just like a little bit of the click wheel. All right, bye guys.